What's up, everybody? In this video I thought I'd share a pretty fun exercise that I do in my sketchbook to practice cartooning. Here it is, check it out. First thing I do to start this exercise is find an image for reference from Google, a magazine, a book, wherever. In this case I'm using this picture of Lee Majors as Colonel Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man from this DVD cover. Seems like most of my heroes are fictional characters. But anyway, I'm just going to be drawing the portrait for expediency's sake, but of course you can do this exercise with full figures or objects, anything really. When I do this exercise, I'm going to be drawing whatever the subject is 4 times. And in this first sketch here, I'm going to be drawing this portrait fairly realistically, or at least as realistic as my style and skill will allow me. I'm not worried about getting a perfect likeness, but I'll try to get close, at least try to capture the character. In all my sketches today, I'm going to be roughing things in with a light blue, and then I'll tighten that up later with a regular, darker HB lead. And I'm going to do it this way to get a more finished look without using ink, because the pages in the sketchbook are pretty thin, and because, well, I haven't really drawn using regular HB leads in a long time. Here's my first sketch of Colonel Steve Austin finished. Definitely not a perfect likeness, but I think I got the character well enough for this exercise. So I'm going to call it good and move on to the second portrait. For the second sketch in this exercise, I put away my original reference and I just used the first drawing to refer to. At this point, I'll be drawing the portrait again, caricaturing it just a bit more and simplifying it a bit more at the same time. Mostly looking for the lines that are the most important to still convey the character in this portrait, and ditching some of those ancillary lines, some of that cross-hatching, that kind of thing. Here's the second sketch. As a likeness, it's a fail, but I do think I succeeded in keeping the character of kind of the 70s middle-age action hero kind of look. Once again, here's the first sketch I did so that you can see the comparison. In my second sketch, the style has gotten a lot more simple, but what I want to do now going into the third sketch is try to get back to more of the likeness of Lee Majors as Colonel Steve Austin. A little more squared off jaw, a little more squintier eyes. I think noses are one of the most recognizable features on people's faces, so I'm going to try to get back to his original nose shape, try to caricature it a bit more. So this starts to resemble something that people think of more when they think of cartooning. And with the economy of line that I'll be using on this third one, it's going to be quite a challenge. Here's the third one. The likeness, again, not perfect, but the character I think is still conveyed with much less lines than the previous 2 drawings. So now I'm moving on to the fourth and final sketch. Kind of same idea as before, just trying to simplify this and finish it off with the least amount of lines as possible. Again, it would be nice if I could retain some likeness, but the important part is to retain the character and make this as minimal and cartoony as possible. Here it is, the final drawing, and I'm pretty happy the way this one turned out. It's got the level of cartooniness I like, and when I talk about cartooning, I don't mean like, wacky googly eyes or anything like that. When I'm thinking about cartooning, I'm thinking about breaking the subject down to just its bare essentials, and only just trying to keep the lines that matter. Looking at this right now, I think I probably could have pushed it even farther, been a little bit more minimal with my lines, but I am pretty happy with this. And here they are all together. The most successful ones I think are the first one here and then the fourth one here. But that's good because that's kind of my goal, is to go from something like this to something like this. The second and third steps are kind of my searching steps, where I'm searching for shapes and what lines are the most essential to get to something like this, something more cartoony. This might not be good enough to go on to be a character design for the $6 Million Man animated series, but in order to get from here to here, I did kind of need to go through those steps. Of course, if you want to do this exercise, you can cut out a step or 2 if you want. But I like to do it this way just because there's more drawing involved, more practice. And that's what sketchbooking is all about. So in this practice, there's always going to be an unsuccessful drawing or 2. I've always thought of cartooning as a way to communicate ideas and tell stories as simple and clear as possible. So I recommend this exercise, whether you decide to go realistic or super simple, because I think it helps develop, this is going to sound highfalutin, a good visual language that you can apply to your art. And it's an exercise that helps me go from this to something like this. I'd be stoked to hear if you guys have any exercises or methods you might have for practicing in your sketchbooks down in the comments below. Here's my red dot, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do that here. If you'd like to help support this channel, become a patron, you can do so right there. Maybe help me get some of this stuff out in a more timely manner, get more done.
Walking towards my school.
Oh, I'm sorry. And here's a video that you might want to watch right there. See you guys later. Bye.